Happy New Comic Book Day, geeks, and welcome to issue 81 of the Script Heroes podcast. I'm Katie.
And I'm Joseph, and today we're going to be talking about Crush Depth issue 4, Hyde Street issue 7, Justice League Unlimited issue 8, Minor Arcana issue 8, Ultimate Spider-Man issue 18, Void Rivals issue 20, and we're taking everyone down with us issue 4.
That's right. Be sure to hit subscribe to add our show to your pull list, and let's jump right into Justice League.
Justice League Unlimited issue 8. The writer of the series is Mark Waid of JLA, World's Finest, and Shazam. The artist is Dan Mora of World's Finest, Shazam, and Power Rangers. The colorist is Tamara Bonvillain, and the letter is Ariana Maher. Katie, we've had feelings about Justice League Unlimited so far.
Yeah.
And I think the event started in a place where we were actually enjoying it more than the regular series, but then I think the last issue or two of the event have been a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the important thing with that is the event, as it was told through World's Finest, felt like it was off to a good start. Which, very importantly, was because it was mostly focused on Batman and Superman. Like, Green Lantern was in there, I think, if I remember right, and maybe somebody else.
We had the full issue from Grodd's point of view that was quite good.
Yes, yeah. So, as we've been saying, with Justice League Unlimited, the book is at its best when it's not being particularly unlimited. Like, when it's being limited, it's pretty good.
Yes.
The problem is, and I say problem, I mean this is a writing problem. In terms of art, it's such a win. Like,
that 2-page splash. Fucking
yeah.
I don't know how. I don't think I ever knew how badly I needed Dan Moore to draw Batman Beyond. Like,
so good, so gorgeous. My favorite is Howard Porter's Flash Year 1 shows up, which is like one of my favorite costume designs in any comics. I love it so much.
For sure. We also get Hook Hand Aquaman.
Yeah, gotta love Hook Hand Aquaman. The problem is, as exciting as it is to see Dan Moore draw all of these characters, like, they don't do anything. Like, they show up and they look good. And nobody seems to do anything. There didn't feel like any sort of cohesive plan when Grodd went into Gorilla God mode. And, I mean, Wonder Woman, literally, the plan that they had, and I will quote Wonder Woman here, was hit him hard. Yeah. And, like, that's our big conclusion, is just a slugfest where, like, everyone's just punching as hard as they can. How unengaging, how uninspired. Like, when we were doing our Batman and Superman tier list, this, be sure to check that out. One of our tiers was smashing action figures together. Yeah. And I can't believe that this is a book where, like, it is, you know, a really big event for DC. Like, they pushed it a lot. And it's literally just slapping action figures together. The narrative of it felt like it truly had nothing happening. Yeah. Like, Grodd was the star of the show.
Yeah, I feel like that's what makes it more insulting, is the fact, like, this entire issue is dedicated to this final fight scene, and yet somehow it still couldn't get any more depth than just, let's shove all these characters together and have them fight. Like, that went on for what I don't know what DC books are at now, if they're 20 or if they're 22 or whatever pages of actual cut, but it's 20 to 22 pages. There's room for there to be something other than this, but I guess there's just so many characters that, like, because even, like, I was pinpointing with some of the characters, I think Batman Beyond is on, like, maybe 4 pages. Like a lot of the characters are there where it's like they're only in 3 pages, 4 pages each, because there's just so many now with the main cast and the time travel. There's so many characters.
And it's so bad. It's so bad. And they try to, like, re-emphasize Airwave, but it doesn't work because I didn't care about Airwave, because Airwave didn't get any sort of main character treatment.
Yeah,
so
I never recently told, because somebody recently told me that he gets, like, a lot of good character stuff in the Absolute Power event, and I was like, but I didn't want to read that event. It wasn't.
Yeah, because that event and this one, do my least favorite fucking thing, which is when they make the entire fucking universe involved. Like, I don't need that. I
Yeah.
so deeply don't need that, especially from a book that's just a crossover between Justice League and Batman and Superman. Like, it wasn't even like a universe wide event.
Feel like even if you're gonna do that, like you need like the tighter casts that are like the focused on ones.
Yeah,
I mean, say what you will, especially in the later days about Jeff Johns running like all the DC events. He knew that he needed central figures to be
yeah.
like the main characters of any given event, even when he was grabbing like the
Mm-hmm.
whole universe. Like we're gonna focus on these characters that are gonna be important to this event.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Waid has not done that so far in his event
No.
writing. He's very much been like, I want to play with all these characters, and we know that Mark Waid loves all of the DC universe, so
Yeah,
obviously, like, that's it. But you need characters that like place you in it, which is why it's wild that the villain perspective stuff was better because that was focused on Grodd. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah, it was one of those things where the worst thing that can happen in a time travel book, I think, is your reader being confused. Cuz like time
Yeah.
travel can get so muddy and I'm like why are they all here? Like I don't like I get the
Yeah.
mechanic of how they all got here, but like narratively why did you bring them all here? Like cuz you
Yeah. And
did
then there's
this on
yeah.
purpose.
And then there's some I don't want to spoil where we get to, but basically to get us to where we get to, there's like some kind of contrived stuff at the end. It's just like,
Incredibly. And it's like
oh,
it literally it was such a whimper to end the event.
yeah.
And I feel like the
It,
worst part of it is that with the because you showed the big splash page of everybody,
yeah,
there are multiple big splash pages. Like there's definitely at least a second one. It's not a double splash.
yeah.
Uh there's so
You
many
can say
big
there's
like
multiple of the
mhm,
same character that's been pulled
yeah,
from out of time. Like I thought that's what you were gonna say. Instead of like even like going all unique, like there are multiples of the same character pulled throughout
yeah.
time, which is I think also a downside.
And
The
like I
one thing
think
I
that
want to say,
if the whole event was that, it could have been fun. Like
I
that could have been
fully agree.
exciting.
A better DC Generations would have been
Yeah,
great.
right?
But, instead this suffers from a lot of the same problems as DC Generations, but it doesn't have the excuse of there are like 82 creatives on this book.
Yeah.
No, but I feel like the one thing I want to say is the one thing that will make me, I think, look back a little bit fonder on this, and I'm not
Mhm.
confident that this is what's going to happen, but I don't want to spoil what kind of happens here. But if the end point here is because there's going to be multiple spin-off books involving some of the things that happened at the end
Like
here,
little
I
one
will be a
shot
little bit,
things.
yeah, I'll be a little
Mhm.
bit more, but like accepting of because that could be cool. That could be cool to get some books around those things. But if it's just gonna be no, they're gonna show up in the Justice League book, and we're gonna have that. I'm gonna be like, no.
I also, without spoiling, because there's the spoilers from the end of the book, but then there's the
Yeah,
spoilers from the epilogue of the book. I'm so not excited about the epilogue, is what I'm gonna say. Like it felt like the type of thing that's supposed to be like, oh, aren't you hype now, reader? And I'm like, no, I'm exhausted. Like,
yeah.
stop it.
I mean, I think part like I feel like since last summer because last summer is when they did like the night what was it called night terrors I
Night
think was that
Terrors.
last summer
Yeah.
yeah since night terrors it feels like
Or
we
that
haven't
was the
really ever
summer
been.
before.
Oh God, geez.
And
So
then
since
Absolute
two
Power
summers ago,
was
so so
this
so
past
since
summer.
2 summers ago, it hasn't ever really felt like we were out of an event time. It's
Yeah.
felt like we just constantly rolled into the next event. Because Night Towers rolled into like a lot of the preamble of Absolute Power, and then we got
Mhm.
Absolute Power, which kind of rolled out into the build up of like, okay, now we're doing Just League Unlimited, and we're building for the
Well, that
We Are
you're also
Tomorrow
forgetting
event,
in
and
there that
then
fucking Beast World was in there as well.
oh my God, I'm forgetting Beast World. Oh, that's what I was like, wait a minute, there definitely was something in there that like because I was like, that's too big of a gap between the first. Yeah, I forgot about Beast World too. So that
Yeah.
we rolled into Beast World, which then went, and that's why like we just haven't had a breather. Like I think people already complain about like DC needs to have a crisis every summer. There's always that summer event. We are now at the point where it's not even just the summer. Like it is
I think that it
a
might literally
constant
go
presence.
back a little bit before Night Terrors. Or no, did it go Night Terrors, Dark Crisis, Dawn?
Oh,
No,
you're
it
right.
was
Dark
Dark
Crisis came
Crisis, Dawn of
first.
DC. Night Terrors,
Yeah.
and I feel like
I
Dark
forgot about
Crisis
Dark
is really
Crisis
the
because we
start of
didn't
it.
we ended up reading Dark Crisis on the Pokemon
Yeah,
books after the fact. We didn't read
yeah,
Dark Crisis when it was coming out, which I think made me kind of forget
yeah.
about it.
Because I
Um,
think that's the real impetus of it. Because
yeah,
it's felt like every
you're right.
event DC has put out has been like a universe wide event is the thing that
And
gets
feeding
me.
into another event. Like I don't
Yeah.
know that we've had one yet that isn't like feeding into the next. Because Dark
Hmm.
Crisis was very much feeding into like Dawn of DC and Night Terrors. And then Night Terrors
See, I
happened.
think we
Night
got a
Terrors was
little bit of
absolutely
relief
setting up.
between Dawn of DC, or between Dark Crisis and Night Terrors. But the problem was that because the Dawn of DC books were
Yes.
like coming out a little bit later as well, like the
Yeah.
start
We
of
got like
Dawn of
4 issues
DC,
for it. Yeah.
yeah, was
Yeah.
fine. But then the later books with it were
Yeah.
not fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But and they've all just felt like they like are setting up for the next one. So it's like, do any of these events actually even matter? Because they don't. None of them feel
Yeah.
like they're the main event. They keep being like,
Hmm.
oh, this is actually not really the big thing because the
Yeah.
next thing is going to be the big thing. It's like, oh my
And
god,
it's
this
just,
is
it's
still going.
exhausting and it's
Yeah.
boring, frankly. Like
Yeah.
when you
Please
make
stop.
events your regular, suddenly your regular, like, it's not exciting. Like I am much more excited by like a low key plot. Like that's one of the reasons why it's so refreshing to read Nightwing, where it's like, oh yeah, he's having his like street level hero problems.
Like even Titan, like now we're getting the meet with Titans, but it kind of
Mhm.
earned it by giving us a bunch of issues of
Yeah.
just like, here's this small little, issue threat that they're gonna deal with, So yeah,
And I think it's what makes something like Batman Dark Patterns also really refreshing, where it's like, yeah, these are
yeah.
such like nice contained things. I don't
I
feel
think it
like
shows
there's
like the books that we've
required
gravitated
reading.
towards,
Yeah,
in terms of continuing to read on the podcast
yeah.
because yeah, but
They're just
please
so much more
DC,
readable.
chill out. We're not chilling out right now. We're not going to chill out at least until is fall when they're advertising the thing for? Is that when it was advertised for in the back of this book?
Um, I don't remember when it was advertised for,
We're
but
not
I
chilling
have a
out
feeling
until
we're
at
just
least
kind of
then.
like stuck in an event cycle for the rest of eternity.
Yeah, please stop. Please.
It's it's their version of Marvel just restarting their series with number one. They're like, it's okay, it's a number one, it's an endless, or it's We Are Yesterday number one, but it's a number one. You can jump on, it's fine.
I don't think there's anything less jump onable than Just League Unlimited right now. Like the
Yeah,
amount of
right? Which is
the fact
hilarious
that like
because it's on like
when I was
issue 8.
yeah, and when I was complaining like to people about like, oh, I don't care about any of these characters, so, like, well, did you read Absolute Power? I'm like, oh, I
No.
shouldn't feel like I had to read Absolute Power to be eight
To
issues in a
start the
Justice League and
new
care.
Justice League's book.
Yeah, like that's not a good thing. That's
No.
not a good thing. Um,
They've
no
given
shade to
Mark
that
Waid too
person,
much
but
power.
shade to yeah. I genuinely I think that there is a thing when like a publisher anoints somebody as like
Hmm.
the writer for the publisher. Like I
Yeah.
think that's just a little bit too broad, and it gives them a little bit like too many books and too much time. And
Hmm.
when you feel like you have like infinite books and infinite time and infinite characters to juggle, like I said, like you saw it happen with Jeff Johns eventually, where it's just like the quality's dipping, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's where we're at with Mark Waid now. It's just like there's no like pressure on him to have to deliver a really like
Right.
tight story or anything like that. It's like, well,
Hmm.
I have infinite books. I'm handling like the universe from this like high end perspective, and I think that that hurts it. But
I'm gonna tell you, it makes me wish Joshua Williamson. I had my problems with Dark Crisis, but Dark Crisis felt really climactic.
yes, honestly, Dark Crisis was like I think we both went in like, oh no, and then we came out and we're
Yeah.
like, it's actually
Right?
pretty good.
Right?
Like okay. No, that had a narrative, that had characters that we focused on, and that even had extra books to like give those characters extra
Yeah.
focus.
And it had the literal death of the Justice League, which was so
Yes.
hokey before it, but it really did, like, it stuck for a while, which really made it feel like it had
Yeah,
some
there
real
were
staying power
lasting
when it came back.
ramifications.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I don't. What have you done, DC, making me long for Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths? But that's right.
It's not
But in
hard
any
to make
case,
me long for a book where Nightwing and Deathstroke fight. I'm not gonna lie.
that was
It
I
gets me
well,
every time.
hmm.
Good
But in
every
any
time.
case, we talked very long about this book because I
Yes.
think it's kind of boiled over on this issue specifically a lot
Absolutely.
of feelings. But let's jump to the other major publisher and let's talk about Ultimate. Yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man
Hell yeah.
issue whatever it is.
18, maybe?
18.
Ultimate Spider-Man number 18. This is coming to us from writer Jonathan Hickman, artist Mark Ricchetto, colorist Eric Arciniga, and letterer Corey Petit. Jay. Ultimate Spider-Man has been kind of like hit after hit for us. Like I don't think we've had a real struggle issue uh in a very long time at least. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was
Stop
gonna
it.
say
You
that. Do
can't
you have to
just show
remind
me
me this again?
Marco Cicchetto art.
I was like, am I gonna have to
I said
remind
in
you
a
of it
very
for
long
ages
time.
ago now? Yeah, that's why I was like before
Yeah.
you threw that in there. This is a bit of an interesting issue.
Yeah.
It jumps between like a couple different goings on, including the
Hmm.
Mysterio. Like,
Which
is
is
it Cult of
so
Mysterio? Is that
wild.
what they're called?
Maybe?
I'm
I
trying to
don't.
remember what they were called, but the like Cult of Mysterio, which is super weird in like the best way. I
Right?
love them. They're so uncomfortable. Some kind of civilian Peter stuff, and then we get some kind of Spider-Manning to lead us into the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
kind of end thing. Um, so the interesting thing about this, which I'm interested to see if you will feel the same because you are
Ooh.
usually feeling very much the opposite way. I think the Spider-Manning is the weakest part of this issue. I
I
think
would
that
agree.
Peter in
I
the
would agree
Spider-Man
with
suit,
that.
yeah, is the weakest part of this issue. I don't think that was particularly great. I think the rest of this issue was particularly great. I really like the Cult of Mysterio stuff, and I can't really talk about the cliffhanger and like the big thing that happens at the end here. I loved that. That was really,
Right?
really exciting and really cool. And I was not expecting myself to be as invested as the like ending of this made me realize that I was invested.
Right?
So it's like, you know what? Really, really good job getting me that invested, Hickman. I'm a big fan. All I'll say is that it's related to Venom,
Hmm.
and by Venom I mean his son,
Richard.
who I can't remember his actual name, and his hero name is now
Richard.
Venom, so I'm just gonna call him Venom.
His name
But
is
I'm
Richard.
referring to his son. It's Richard, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I thought it was a very good issue, but the Peter Spider-Man stuff was a little bit, I
Yeah, I
think,
think it
just
was
kind of
really
space fillery.
interesting. That's what I was gonna say. It was interesting to see in this book, which I feel like normally has so much going on, them literally do like a video game cutscene where it's like, oh well, we aren't meeting up
The
with
fights of
Gwen for an
heroes.
hour, so let's go do
Yeah,
some side quests. And I liked the little side quest, the fact that it was like what 3 pages or so, and then the interaction with
yeah.
Otto, which
Yeah, the
I
interaction with
found that
Otto was more of what I was talking about because like the other stuff was kind of just like page filler with some nice
montagey.
shadow artwork. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it was goofy in a way that had turned me off of it a little bit, but then with the very serious ending I actually kind of liked. Like I like that with what's going on with this other plot that we have like Pete kind of goofing around and doing kind of silly things. I don't it wasn't my favorite writing in there. Especially because it
yeah,
felt like they kind of talked in circles around a couple things where it's like, oh,
yeah,
I should be mad at you, but I'm not. And it's like, okay, I don't really need that going on.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I am very excited. This book continues to just deliver so much on all character fronts. Where it's just like, yeah, I love
yeah,
what's going on here. And looking back at the previous issue a little bit because we didn't get to review it, such good movement for Harry. Like I do have a slight gripe in that maybe it's because we did review it last month and books always stick better when you and me talk about them. I don't
yeah.
the return of Harry is a little fuzzy to me
He kind of like. Do you mean to Peter or in general?
in general.
In general, we had the like Gwen reveal of her being there and kind of faking his whole
Oh
death situation.
yeah,
She
I
showed
totally
up and
forgot about that. So he
yeah,
showed up and I was like, wait, what happened? But
Yeah,
as
we had the
soon as
whole, like,
you've
we had
said,
the,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
all the stuff from Gray, yeah, with the cult, and then she did that. Yeah, but in terms of, like, him showing up to Peter, there wasn't much. It was kind of
there
just
wasn't
like,
much,
"Ah,
which was
I'm here now."
it's like Ben knows how to talk to you. I'll come and get you
Yeah,
from your camp. Um,
yeah.
but also very importantly, Ben and Jonah back. Every moment they're on the page, I love them more.
It's a win.
It's a
It's a
win.
win.
It's a win.
But I really like. I feel like I'm at the point where I'm really really liking Richard as a
Me
character,
too.
and I feel like we
Yeah.
had a point where we're like, especially because May had more like build in the very early
Yeah.
issues. We are like, Richard's kind of just there. Especially he was doing stuff with like the Jonah early on, and that was kind of
Yeah.
all he had. And it was a little bit weird. It was like I don't really know what Richard's adding. Richard has turned into I think a really really good character
Richard
and a
has
character
turned
that
into
I'm
like
very
the
excited about.
second main character. In the absence of Harry, he was absolutely like the secondary character.
I mean, at least in like the overarching plot right now, he's arguably more significant than Peter is right now.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's all very exciting. And I'm so glad we're reading
good
this.
stuff.
Like it's such a good
Me too.
book. Like it's just good
It is.
comics. It's just good comics.
Absolutely.
We have more good comics to talk about. The first of which I believe is We're Taking Everyone Down With
We're
Us.
taking it. Yes, that is
Amazing.
correct.
All right, let's go talk about Robot Arms.
We're taking everyone down with us. Issue 4. The writer of the series is Matthew Rosenberg of The Punisher, Task Force Z, and Uncanny X-Men. The artist is Stefano Landini of The Punisher, Daredevil, and Star Wars. The colorist is Jason Wordy, and the letter is Hassan Itzman. Allow. You've been, I think it's fair to say, a big fan of this series so far,
Oh yeah.
Katie. We didn't get
I
to
think
talk
it's
about
fair to
issue
say
3.
that both of us are big fans of this
Yes.
series.
Yes. But I'd rather talk for you than talk for myself.
You
We
know,
didn't get
that's
to
so
talk about
fair.
issue
That's so
3,
fair.
which was,
That's right.
I think, maybe the most plot significant issue
Yeah,
so far of this series. So
Yeah, so to give
let's
a
talk about
real
issue 4,
quick overview of issue 3, so the Vitruvian has brain waves into one of his robot men and kept this a secret from his daughter. We also see in that issue the Mortis, I believe his name is. Mortis has abducted Annalise and the robot because he thinks that they're going to be the key to whatever the Vitruvian was working on before he died. And yes, so cute. And we see Annalise's mom actually, and she is shocked to see Annalise has survived this incursion on the island. And as retribution, for before she knows this, as retribution for thinking that Mortis has killed the Vitruvian and also her daughter, she sends a missile after the train that that Mortis is on.
Yes.
And then she sees that Annalise is there and is like, oh shit, the missile's already sent. What the train go boom. So Mortis dies, and luckily Anna does not, nor does the robot. Which is, I think, about where we pick up with issue 4. They've
just about.
been in
Yeah,
this
they're kind of like
explosion. Yeah,
recovering from that. Annalise now has a. I
a
don't think
robot
it's spoiler.
arm.
It's very,
No,
yeah,
no,
it's pretty
no.
much immediate.
Yeah,
Has a robot arm now.
which
Specifically, the robot arm from her robot companion, which is also her father, but she doesn't know
yes,
that. So
it's a whole intricate web.
yeah,
What I think is super fun about that is I think that there's also some weirdness going on with Annalise where she like knows how to operate weaponry and stuff, and she like knows languages that she doesn't know how she knows.
yeah,
So I think we're getting some sprinklings of like, what did the Vitruvian do to her?
yeah,
Like, and I think the robot arm thing is like, is she also a robot? Is she, or what did they end up calling them? Cyborganisms.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. That's so
Fun,
goofy.
very fun, very fun.
Which before we move away from Mortis completely, still my favorite character. Only in 2 issues. He was so funny. He was so well done.
He was very good.
I love the way that he interacts with the other 7. big bads.
that are
But
now.
issue 4 then has such exciting stuff happening because they like go to this little town, and Annalise is just constantly putting herself in danger in the
Yeah.
best way. And they have a very exciting interaction, is what I'll say, to
Yeah.
avoid spoilers.
Yes.
Uh, and then an incredible twist of fate at the very end.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
oh
great.
shit.
We love good issue ending cliffhangers. This was a
Hmm.
very good one. This is an ongoing, right? I think it is.
I
Is it not?
don't know.
It feels like it should be. I don't feel like we only have 2 issues left, but
You start talking about it, I'll look it up.
okay. Yeah, I thought I was upset we didn't talk about issue 3 because I thought issue 3 was so phenomenal. But this issue is also very, very good. I really like you love to talk about the 7 and all of them. I feel like this issue was really good at kind of fleshing them out to some extent. Like we get them interacting in like because I believe in issue 3 they only interact through like their computer, like video call thing. We get more direct interaction here. And that was really, really great. I love it's very fun. This book has a very fun sense of humor about like
It
its
really
world
does.
and specifically the 7. Um, and they're talking about one of them killing another one of them, and they realize that like the way their rules are set up makes it so that it is literally impossible to do anything about that, which I find incredibly funny. But then they also are still beholden to their rules so much that they won't then themselves break the rule to deal with the person who broke the rule to kill. So it's just incredibly funny the way that their rules and their organization works, because it's bullshit and it does not work at all. But it's very, very funny
It's
to me,
so
and I thought
goofy.
that was
It's
one of
so
the highlights.
silly. I have terrible news for
Oh
you.
yeah,
It is
and
only 6 issues.
what?
Only 6
That is
issues.
very
Yeah.
upsetting.
Yeah.
That's very upsetting.
Deeply,
Um,
deeply. But yeah,
See,
the
I don't know
entirety
that I
of the
quite feel
7
like we're
is
2 issues
so
away
funny.
from wrapping up, but
Hmm. I
some
wonder
they
if
could.
it's 1 of 6 for volume 1 or something
Yeah, it
like
could definitely
that.
be that thing where it's like we're gonna wrap up not the whole story, but like this
Hmm.
part of the story. I feel the need to like keep calling out. I still think Annalise's like maturity level is a little bit weirdly written. Like I don't.
Hmm.
I think like they make they've written her like I think a very young kid who had to grow up very fast instead of like a kid who's actually her age who had to grow up fast, because she still is like she's juvenile in like her sense of like, oh, I just kind of want to play games and I'm going to talk kind of like I'm an 8-year-old or
Hmm.
something like that. But she also is very mature in like I can use weapons and do this stuff. So it's a very weird
I
maturity
do
thing when
think they
like
actually touch on that a little in this issue, where they bring up the fact that she's like never been around other people. So I think that does kind of help with like the like
but that's
beyond
my point. It's like
sheltered.
yeah, but it feels like they're playing into that of like why she's a little bit um like darker or more like knows more like it feels like they've written her like a 7-year-old who was sheltered and had to like grow up too fast instead of like a 12-year-old who's maybe a bit stunted, like I think she's 12. The
That's
point is
fair.
she's
She's
I
somewhere
know
around
she's
there. Yeah.
older than like what she kind of acts like. But yeah,
Mhm.
I agree that was a nice thing. But I think that's one of the things that I'm a little bit unsure. But
That's fair.
maybe
That's fair.
if it leads into something with her being a cyber organism or something, that'll also explain that maybe her father's like,
Mhm.
I don't know what kids are like, so I'm just gonna kind of program in a basic, childlike thing. So there definitely are ways that they can kind of get around that. But
Yeah.
regardless, this was another,
And
I think,
also, kids are hard to write, so it could
kids are
also just be a little bit of a missed mark.
yeah.
Because kids hard to write.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been reading? We're taking everyone down with us, dear listener. How do you like it? Do you have any theories on what you think is going on with Annalise? And how about that issue ender? What do you think is going to be happening there? I'm very
Yeah,
excited
that's a
to
big
find
one.
out. That's a big one. It's a
Big
big
one.
one.
That's a big one.
But we have a few more books to talk about today, so we are going to skip and hop right on over to Hyde Street, I think.
I believe that's correct. Nope, it's Void Rivals.
Nope, it's Void Rivals. We're going to get talking about Void Rivals. Void Rivals number 20. The writer here is Robert Kirkman of Invincible, The Walking Dead, and Oblivion Song. The artist is Connor Hughes of White Ash and The Game. The colorist is Patricio Del Peche, and the letterer is Russ Wooten. Jay,
Yes.
big change here.
Yeah, this is the first of 2 artist changes we missed talking about last month when new artists came on their books.
Well, luckily we or did we talk about Void Rivals last month?
We did
No, I
not.
think we missed Void Rivals.
Yeah, we missed
So we didn't really miss it. Oh wait, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Artist change, crazy, especially because the art has been so like definitive for this book for us.
Another thing where both books were very like the art was very important in both. So I'm very interested to talk about both of them in this episode. I'm gonna not very lead by saying I prefer this one of the changes or of like the new artists for the books of the 2. Lorenzo De Felici was always going to be a big, I think a big loss. Lorenzo De Felici is. I think he was very high up both of our best artist lists last year. Like he's a phenomenal artist, so incredible. And then actually last month it was like a Skuxoid focused issue, so we didn't really get to see Connor Hughes with all the characters. So even though I really enjoyed that issue, it was much needed like fleshing out of a character that I had no context for and was like really annoying me that I had no context for. I was like, oh no, actually, really cool character. This is and I was really
annoyed about it at first because I was like, God damn it! The like one gripe that I've had with Void Rivals is like stop making me focus on the characters that I don't know and care about, and then I was like, oh shit, hell yeah!
Yeah, it's like now I know. Like that's good. That is good. That's what this book should be doing. So I like that a lot. But I was like, I don't know if Connor Hughes is going to be able to do the main book when we get there. I really liked Connor Hughes' art in this issue. Again, Lorenzo De Felici I think is going to be missed and absolutely is a huge lot, but I thought Connor Hughes did a phenomenal job of this issue. It's a very action-packed issue, which let I think us immediately see like, okay, no, he can do this stuff. He can really do this. This is great. And I just thought it was a very good issue in general. It jumps around a decent amount to a couple different of the plot threads that are moving on. There's maybe a little bit of like your comic booky like not having a conversation when a conversation would be incredibly useful, and that was frustrating me a little bit, especially early in this issue. But we do get to a point where like I think there is a moment for it, and it turns out that I always forget Derek's father's name.
Derek's father.
Derek's father is just like, yeah, no, I'm not entertaining a conversation. It's like, okay, at least it's because Derek's father is the way that Derek's father is, and I'm like that. I like that. That works, and because then we just get a lot of awesome action in this issue. We get Derek and Salila, as the blurb says, rivals once more, which I think is fun. We get Android caught in the middle in a way that I thought was incredibly entertaining. So yeah, I thought this was a very good issue of Void Rivals.
Yeah, I fully agree. I really loved the fights in this issue. Like the fight between, especially because I think it was so fun to see, because we've seen Derek and Salila fight before.
Salila now looking to the ground.
Yes, Salila has sick new abilities, which are so like, I don't know, like Final Fantasy coded to me. I'm just like,
and yes, very comic beautiful. Because there are these like big explosion moments of like,
so fun to look at, which really was, like you're saying, such a good testing ground for Connor Hughes to be like, okay, I am on board with this artist.
Yeah.
So I love that Salila had like new stuff to work with. I also love that Derek like used his friendship with her, like the fact that they have fought so many times before, to his advantage, and like showed that he's like learned from this. I thought that was so fun.
And part of what he's learned is that he cannot beat her. And
that's what I was about to say. Is like it felt like such a great matchup where like if you have kind of two men like if you have Batman and Superman going up against each other, there's a lot of work you have to do for Batman to be on equal playing field. If you want a bunch of details about situations in which that happened, check out our tier list video of Batman and Superman fights.
Yes,
but I feel like it's one of those things where you don't want to drop the power level of your like super badass character just so your main characters can fight. And they did such a good job with making sure that it was like justifiable. And also Derek wasn't winning. Like,
No, and he had an army essentially on his
yeah,
side that he was like
exactly.
he had the royal guards and everybody. So
And like, I don't. The masses, like, it went through a horde, and someone's like, okay, that sure that tips the battlefield. And I think they did such a good job with it, where it didn't feel like, I don't know, a cheap fight for
yeah,
Salila. Like, it didn't feel like it dropped her power at all. And definitely too deep to talk about in
yeah. I was looking for his name,
specifics.
assuming that that's what you're about to go into. I'm just
Yes.
like, I always
Yeah,
get
yeah,
his name,
yeah, yeah.
but he continues to be one of the coolest. Fucking.
So fucking cool. And if we're
Mm.
gonna talk about issue enders in this
Oh
episode, oh
yeah,
my god. Like, we know that Robert Kirkman is the king of it, but
oh yeah,
Jesus Christ,
absolutely.
how fucking exciting. I am
Oh
so
god, yeah.
hyped.
Dude,
Uh
they just continue to make. Oh man, I wish I remembered his name right now. They continue to
I
make.
think it starts with it's like
Yeah, it's
Zyrtec or something. No, I think that's a drug.
I was looking for. I know it's said at some point in this when he like
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyway, he is such a good like sci-fi Darth Vader esque looming.
So,
Love it, love it.
so good.
Yeah, this Void Rivals last.
Really excited that
This was
happening
another one where I was upset that we weren't able to talk about issue 19, but like
there. Mhm.
yeah, the book's doing good things.
Book doing good things.
Good things.
Have you been along for the ride on Void Rivals? Have you been reading since issue 1? Or were you like me and jumped in late and fell in love with it anyway?
Yeah.
Do you think that because there is also, a lot more Transformers stuff going on. We've
Yeah.
talked about that 100 times. Are you psyched about the Transformers stuff going on, or are you a little hesitant? You're like, I wish Void Rivals was
And do
kind
you
of
think
its
that
own
Robert
thing.
Kirkman starting to write the main Transformers book is gonna impact the amount of Transformers in this book? Could it mean that Void Rivals is gonna end? Who knows? Let
What
us
a
know.
horrible thing to put out into the universe. Robert Kirkman, if you're listening, no.
That's my theory.
No.
I think Void Rivals is ending at the end of this arc. I think it's gonna end at 24.
I mean, I think that that's a really fair thing to think, especially with like the plot that is
Yeah.
happening. But also, how dare you manifest that?
And I think that coincides with about when he's gonna be jumping on to the main Transformers book, and it feels like, oh, maybe that was him being like, I want to continue to write in this universe even when I finish Void Rivals.
Fuck.
So I think it's happening, unfortunately. But let us know if you think we're right,
Yes.
if you think we're wrong. You can curse me out for speaking that into existence.
Please do. It's the only
but-
way to stop him.
It's the only way to stop it. Curse me out in the comment section down below, and we're going to go talk about High Street.
Minor Arcana number 8. This is coming to us from writer Jeff Lemire of Sweet Tooth, Black Hammer, and Maze Book, and there's now an additional artist on Minor Arcana in Letizia Cadenici of House of Slaughter, Department of Truth, and Hello Darkness. Colorist is Patricio Del Peche, and the letter is Steve Wands. Jay,
Yes.
we've both quite enjoyed Minor Arcana.
Yes.
Where you landing on this issue?
So I kind of
Number
hinted
8.
at how I felt about the artist switch earlier in the episode. I think this book is so heavily tied to Jeff Lemire's style to the point that we're still kind of getting an imitation of it here, and I don't know. And I have not seen any other Letizia Kenenichi's work, and I'm not. It's not an indictment of them. It's still very solid work, and again, this is with them imitating Jeff Lemire's style, so I don't know what it would usually look like. I don't know that it fully works. I think the book's lost something without Jeff Lemire illustrating it himself, because it's like this very paintedly, kind of roughish look, but the line work now doesn't really fit that anymore. Like, it's become, I think, too clean for the style of the book, which I think hurts the book in general, because a lot of this book and a lot of Jeff Lemire's books in general are very style driven versus being a book that I think can handle the artist switch as well. So that is, I think, something that really, really hurt, in my opinion. And then, honestly, I wasn't the biggest fan of this issue in general. A lot of it was like the mother's kind of relationship thing got a decent amount of space, and I wasn't super interested in that. And then, like, a lot of it is I'm trying to think of I know Fonzo. What's the main character's name again? Why am I
Teresa.
Teresa? Thank you. A lot of it is like this person coming in that I felt like was going to maybe be a more major character, but then also
Right?
just kind of leaves at the end. I wasn't really sure if that was meant to be something that's
Yeah.
going to be carried forward or not. So I'm not sure how to feel about that. But I think I'm getting at issue 8 to the point where I'm like, yes, we have a lot of runway, but I think this book needs to start moving.
Yeah.
And
I
with
think
that
that
and
it
the artist switch, I think the
mhm,
artist switch is making me less tolerant to it moving slowly as
mhm.
well.
Yeah, I think the tricky thing with this issue is, like you said, Jeff Lemire's style is so important to the book, and I actually didn't mind the artist switch as much. I think that it kept a lot of the vibe while being like you said, just a little cleaner, which is a bummer because I feel like so much of and I think I felt this the most with Teresa herself. So
Yeah,
much of like the empathy that I felt for Teresa on the page is from how like I don't know, haggard and sad she
yeah,
looked. Um
exactly.
and I think that we lose a lot of that.
I felt it with
Um
the mother too. I didn't think the mother quite looked as like
yeah, yeah. Uh
not
so
less not together.
I think that it's borderline an impossible job to take
Oh yeah,
over after
absolutely.
like to take over after any artist mid-series, let
Yeah,
alone like a writer artist who has such a like distinct and iconic style. Like
yeah.
I think that it's a really hard thing to
I
do.
fully agree.
And I did like a lot of the art in it. I do still like the art that's happening. I think that they did a good job of it not feeling like super jarring moving between the styles.
I
So
think that's. I thought most of the
mhm.
stuff that was felt continued was really the coloring. I think that's doing
I think
most of
that
the
is
work
a
and
big
making it
part of it.
feel
Yeah, I think that's
kind of
doing a
similar.
lot of the work.
I thought the actual like line work of it was pretty dang different. Like I don't know that
I
it
mean,
felt
it's
like it.
different, but I wouldn't say that it's like you know, like it doesn't feel like a different book to me. I mean, fair enough, reasonable minds and
Yeah,
all that. But I do think that the tricky thing we have is that we ended the last arc on like such a good note,
yeah,
and I feel like whether it's because Jeff Lemire is working on some ramp up to get this one started or whatever, it doesn't feel like we continued that energy
I
in
agree.
this issue. So I'm hoping that it's something where as this arc goes on, we get more of it. You know that I love the grandpa. So once we start
Gotta love
dealing
the
with
grandpa.
grandpa stuff, I'm gonna be so excited. Um, but uh, but I do think that it's off to a bit of a rocky start, and I do think that it has compounding factors in that it's
Yeah,
the start of a new arc that didn't continue all of the momentum, and we lose the Jeff Lemire art,
which
which
again
was so
happened
core to
actually
the book.
in last issue, but
Yes,
we
yeah,
are
yeah,
delayed an hour
yeah.
in our review. But yeah, it was. Oh, and like I said, I think the big like this book needs to get moving at some point. Like I know
Mhm.
that this book has a lot of runway and it's going to be going for a long time, but
Yeah, like I feel like the personal arc of arc one was fine. It's like, okay,
yeah,
before we get rolling on like this mystery that's going on, Teresa has to go on a little personal journey. But then with the start of the new arc, I'm like, no, come on. We gotta get this journey going.
yeah. What you don't want to end up with is a 40 issue series that feels like it has the story of a 6 issue series. You know,
Exactly.
like that's not what you
Yeah.
want to do with that extra room.
Right.
So yeah, I hope we'll get moving soon. But yeah,
Yes.
we got one more book.
We sure do. We are going to go talk about Crush Depth from Friends with the Pod, DB Andre and Tim Daniel.
Let's do it. Crush Death, issue 4. The writers of the series are friends of the pod, Tim Daniel and DB Andre, who have worked on Morning Star, Creep Show, and End After End. The artist is Alex Sanchez, who's worked on Katana, JSA, and Elektra. We have 2 colorists on this issue, K. Michael Russell and Jason Finestone, and the letter is Justin Birch. Katie, we've been big fans of Crush Depth up until this point. It's happening now. Talk to
Shit's
me about it.
happening now, dude. So, first of all, everyone said, Katie, what are you talking about? Stop assuming everyone's going to kill each other on the sub. I rest my case. I rest my case. It is there's murder upon the sub, and I love it. It's such a great genre. Is like the big thing with it. Like the kind of claustrophobia horror is so fun. It's so exciting. It's so like
Claustrophober.
evocative. Yeah, sure. It was just so poorly put together there. I've been
I don't
derailed.
know what you're talking about.
Um, but it's so exciting. I feel like in the first issue and continuing on, they've done such a good job of like making you really care about these characters, especially in that first issue. But they have all these little details, like the card game in issue 3, I think was really great. And the way that they all interact with each other, the way that oh no, our main character, she has a name. I know she does. Uh, but the way that she's like dealing with people in the med bay, I think is really really great characterization as we see the like number of pieces moving on the sub where like there are the problems with the sub, like it's like overheating. There's also you know, the like excitement of the vents that they found, and then of course we the reader know that Kate's been like, I don't know, body snatched. Um, so there's all of that
Yeah.
exciting stuff going on, and this is also an issue where we get like fun action that we haven't seen. Like we get actual like encounter happening, and I think that's so
Absolutely.
exciting. It's the type of thing where it's a tough needle to thread, where it's like you obviously don't want your monster doing stuff too early so that you like
You
lose
gotta
the
build up some.
impact
You
of
gotta
them.
build up some suspense. I can't get the word out.
Gotta
Suspense
build up
as
some
here.
suspense. Yeah. And I think that they had the right amount of suspense built up, the right
Yeah.
amount of like little creepy things going wrong. Like I keep comparing it to Alien because I feel like it's like Alien's like the perfect movie, and so like comparing it with, and they're going for similar things. So they've got a lot of the same beats in there where it's like, okay, we get these like scary moments as we deal with like not the full creature as well.
Yeah.
I love the
Absolutely.
like slow descent into madness. I love the spooky like hive mind. It's all working so well for me. Like this is the type of horror that I actually really really like.
Just agree with a lot of what you said there. Like it's a book that has paced itself, I think, very, very well, which is very important when it comes to kind of horror and building suspense. And as now we are kind of beyond the suspense point, and we are like in shit has hit the fan, quite literally. And now everything's kind of going crazy, and I feel like a lot of that builds up to these, and it existed in the earlier issues too. But we now really get these like visceral Alex Sanchez like
Yeah, oh the
visuals, and
art,
I feel like Alex
dude.
Sanchez deserves so much credit for how uncomfortable, fucked up, creepy, weird,
Bloated.
yeah, some of these visuals are. And I feel like that's so much of what this book is going for. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, Tim and DB are gonna build up like this kind of suspense of like, okay, things are a little, and then Alex Sanchez is just gonna like smack you with like one of these visuals, and it's
Absolutely.
like, I feel like that's what gets this book playing with kind of your anticipation and your
Hmm.
excitement and keeping you on the edge. Um, but yeah, they're doing a really phenomenal job, and it's a very exciting book now at
It's a
this point.
very exciting book. Uh,
Yeah.
I I I was very interested. This is me trying to decide if it's too much of a. I don't think it is, so I'm gonna go with it. Uh, I thought it was very interesting how like human the creature is, like the because I think that's something that you often don't get with like kind of monster horror, is this like,
Yeah.
I don't know, intellectual creature, like something that understands and
Okay.
like
That's the sense that you meant.
has
Okay,
some sort of
gotcha.
empathy with it.
Yeah,
And it's like it's a really interesting move that made like really set me on my back foot with this monster. Uh and I think it's something that could go wrong, but I do have a great amount of faith in both Tim and DB for it to be done really
absolutely.
well. Where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I wanna stay quite afraid of this thing. You move into a different thing when you have like an intelligent, powerful being, as opposed to
Yeah.
like a mysterious and unknowable powerful being. So I'm a little nervous, but I have complete faith in the whole team, Sanchez as well. That it's all going to be a slam dunk for issue 5, which I believe is the conclusion.
I believe is that is the conclusion.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
I
we
believe.
asked GB last time, and
Yeah,
he very
yeah.
very kindly answered in the comments.
And we of course do not remember the answer because we
Never,
are,
never. Why would we
just the
remember
worst.
something? Yeah. But Crush Depth, super duper fun. It
Absolutely.
is. It is. I have a question, dear listener, because I'm remembering to ask questions now. Um, how do you feel about like monster horror? When do you think is the right time to kind of bring something out of the shadows to start learning more about a thing? Are you someone who wants to understand like the lore behind a monster? Or are you happy to have this kind of like unknowable cosmic force going on? And what do you think? What do you think happened to the humans out there? There are no humans left.
I
And
I thought you were
there's,
about to be like, and do you agree with me that Alien is a perfect movie?
I mean, I didn't even think I needed to ask. Like, I'm just assuming that everyone agrees with me. Because,
as you
yeah,
do.
they're all deeply
Yeah, yeah.
intelligent, our listeners, so they agree. Anyway, speaking of agreeing, or disagreeing, who knows?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
time for the pull list rec. Jay,
Yes.
do you have something in mind for this lovely week?
Um, there's I think a few books that deserve consideration this week,
Hmm.
so it's not an easy,
I feel like this
not
is
an easy
normally a tough
pick.
week for us.
Yeah, but I do think I know what I'm going to give it to.
I think
I'm
I
going to give
know
my
as
pull
well.
list recommendation this week to Void Rivals,
Ooh.
18. I think Connor Hughes was such a delight. It's issue
Hmm.
20. I went 18 because Ultimate
That's
Spider-Man for some
Spider-Man.
reason. Issue 20. I think Connor Hughes did such a phenomenal job on art. I think that things are really just picking up in such a fantastic way in Void
Hmm.
Rivals. And like I said, just Sila's new powers and like the action in this issue is so perfect for comic books that like it really has you so excited
Oh
all
yeah.
throughout. So yeah, Void Rivals. I recommend that you pick it up.
And so do I. I am also going with Void Rivals. Like it's I'm so psyched to have Derek and Salila interacting again because then
Once
they're
more.
rivals once more, and I love that for them. Like they are like the emotional core of this book, and having them back together,
Absolutely.
especially having them back together and at each other's throats again, is so
It
good. It feels like a real return.
full circle
That
moment.
I'm so on board with.
Fully
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. So go.
So really,
It's a week full of good books. So go pick up
yeah.
everything except for Justice League Unlimited.
Oh, there's some shade there. But as we always say, when we both recommend the same book, you are legally obligated to go out and purchase it. So
That's right. So you
let us
better
know if there's
go
any
do
other
that.
books you want us to see us reviewing on the podcast moving forward. As
Absolutely. But
always.
speaking of the podcast moving forward, we have an episode coming out
Yes,
next week too, believe it or not. And I am
we
going to tell
do.
you what is in that episode as my document loads. In this upcoming episode, we are going to have Arcana Royale #3, Arcbound #5, Batgirl #9, Sisterhood, which is a Hyde Street one shot #1, and we're also going to be jumping on
Yes.
to the Chip Zdarsky Captain America book with the #1 of that.
Yeah.
So
Very,
good
very, very
stuff.
exciting
A
there.
relatively light week for
Yeah.
us with the way that
Yeah,
our
I am
reading
super happy
schedule
with
has been.
Arcbound coming back though. Been a big gap
Me
in
too. Yeah.
Arcbound, and we were so in love
Hmm.
with Arcbound when it was coming out.
Absolutely.
Such a surprise. I think really surprise hit for us.
Yeah, because
But so good.
we were both so much like, well, clearly it's just being used to like sell a movie for Tom Hardy,
Yeah,
and they
which
did
like it
such a good
still
job
is, but they're
selling
just
it.
doing a really good job. Yeah, they're doing a
Yeah.
really good job with it, and like that's what happens when you bring on competent
Oh
creators
yeah.
that are so
Which
into
is
telling
crazy
it.
because
But
it's
yeah,
also like
uh,
this out of nowhere artist from like video game. We're very excited about
yeah.
Arcbound.
Yes. So join us next week when we talk about it. It's such an
Yeah.
awesome series. Hell yeah.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
but we have more things. Would you want to tell people what we just uploaded recently, our latest bonus episode, Katie?
I would love to. We did a tier list, a
That's right.
companion tier list to our May tier list where we talked about iconic comic book moms. We looked at some of our favorite and least favorite comic book dads, everywhere
Yes,
from super dad to sperm donor to literally calling CPS. There are dads of all kinds on that list. So go ahead
that
and
there
check
are.
that out. Yeah. And Jay, what are
Yeah,
we
it'll
going
be
to be
linked.
uploading this coming week?
Yes, it's time for the strange Saturday Super Show, and Katie does not know what we're doing, but I've
That's
decided that it is
correct.
time to return for a sequel to a former episode. Actually, a sequel to former episodes. I think it's finally time we do Volume 3 of Hack Slash,
Hack slash,
Friday the
baby!
31st.
Ridiculous. I love it. I'm so excited. I am here for hack slash every single time.
Oh yeah, I think it's been too long. I think it's really time that we read some
I
more Hack
agree.
Slash because it's
Though
such a
very
phenomenal series.
importantly, Cassie's mother did show up in our Mother's Day ranking list.
So go watch that.
Yes.
But yeah, that's everything that we have for you guys this week. So hopefully we'll see you next week. Comic Geeks.